Hello and welcome to Planet Bitesize, the podcast brought to you by Planet and Hostfully. My name's James Varley, the founder of Planet, and our goal is to share everything you need to know about buying and managing short-term rentals. Today's guest is Brooke Pfautz, and he's going to be sharing 13 tips on how you can grow your property management business. This episode features the power of psychology, branded cars, and tips from managers who have scaled to hundreds of rentals. Are you looking to streamline your operations and amaze your guests? Look no further than Hostfully. With their top-rated property management software, you can automate reservations, payments, and guest communication all in one place. Plus, their award-winning digital guidebooks provide personalised recommendations and essential information, ensuring your guests have an unforgettable stay while helping you achieve those all-important, outstanding reviews. Join the thousands of satisfied property managers who trust Hostfully to grow their business. Visit hostfully.com to elevate your short-term rental game today. Brooke, welcome to Planet Bitesize. Thank you so much for joining us. You're going to share 13 strategies to grow your short-term rental inventory. So take it away with strategy number one.
Yeah, well, I'm excited to do this. So first off, these are non-direct mail strategies. So again, we're a big believer in direct mail. And what I wanted to do is create some strategies that weren't direct mail. And we'll kick it off. So number one is host a homeowner appreciation event. So my good friend Tom Goodwin with Mountain Laurel Chalets down in Gatlinburg, he did this, and he's actually been doing this for like over 40 years. And he does this every single year where he brings in all of his homeowners. They have a big party. It's an appreciation. He actually brings in guest speakers. But what he does is he allows people to actually bring in other homeowners, other friends. And what ends up happening inevitably is those people fall in love with this event. They have all his other homeowners end up actually becoming sales agents for him and end up selling. And he's used this as a great way to grow your inventory. And I think it's a great one. I was actually afraid to do this when I had my company, but I think this is a great strategy to add new homeowners, having that homeowner appreciation event.
Yeah, 100%. This is a people business, right? And networking, this is the number one way that you're going to get new business.
100%.
So take it away with strategy number two.
Yeah, so I totally stole this from a realtor in my community. I live in the Baltimore, Maryland area, and there's a magazine called Baltimore Magazine. It's a great magazine, talks about all the great restaurants in the area and things like that. And this real estate agent, she signed up for a year's worth of subscription for Baltimore Magazine and sent it to my wife and I. And think about that. Every single month, I get a magazine in there. I read it. And as I'm reading it, I'm thinking of this real estate agent. And this is a great start. You can actually go to many of these subscription magazines and find local magazines in your area, your market, and do the exact same thing. And you can do they will give you super, super cheap rates if you do this, especially if you're doing it for multiple homeowners. So what I would do is kind of take maybe your A targets, maybe take a list of your top 20, top 40, 50 homeowners that you want to go after and sign up for a subscription of a local magazine that's in your market. They're going to appreciate it. And think about it. It's like a year's worth of marketing for virtually pennies on the dollar. So it's a great, great strategy that, again, someone did with me that I highly recommend for our partners.
Yeah, very smart. Yeah, like you say, every time you get that magazine, you're thinking about them. Okay, then, Brooke, strategy number three.
Yeah, it's offer a home watch service. Look, not everyone wants to rent out their house, especially if they just bought the house. I remember when I bought my house in Bethany Beach, Delaware, we didn't rent it out, but we still needed somebody to look over it. We still needed a home watch service. So set up a home watch service. Don't try to really make any money on this. Just cover your expenses. Build that relationship with that homeowner. And if they build up that relationship with a homeowner, if and when things change and they have to end up renting out their home, guess who they're going to come to first? You, as a professional manager that actually does sales and marketing for those homes. And if you have a real estate division, you're going to be the first person they think of when you go ahead and sell that house. So again, this is a low-cost way to get those people in the door and get those people to sign up in your rental program.
Makes a lot of sense, yeah, keeping yourself front of mind. Okay, then, Brooke, strategy number four.
All right, this is a shameless plug. I'm just going to call it out right from the start, but it is a great source. So I launched a company called Comparent. Comparent is a sister company to Vintory. Comparent is the largest directory, the largest marketplace of professional vacation rental managers in the world. Okay, there isn't any place out there. And we are driving tons and tons of homeowner traffic, homeowners that are looking for professional management. They are going to Comparent looking to choose the best manager. Guess what? It is completely free to list on Comparent. So go on there, claim your listing. We are getting anywhere between 5,000 and 7,000 homeowners per month that are looking for professional managers on that website. Again, you can list your property for free, list your property management company for free, highlight your services. Now, of course, I am a capitalist. I want to make money. If you decide to upgrade, you want to be listed higher in the search results and things like that, you can definitely do that, but you don't need to pay. And we are getting, I've got a friend, Stephen Kroback with Myrtle Beach Destinations. He's never paid for Comparent, and he's signed up 7 new homeowners on Comparent.com.
Amazing, great results. So this is kind of like a Airbnb co-hosting platform before Airbnb even thought of it, perhaps.
I've actually had I've had the idea for Comparent for like 7 years. I've actually had it longer than I've had the idea for Vintory, but it's just it's really a passion project for me now. And if you actually Google like top property managers, top short-term vacation rental managers, and then insert your market, very often it's number 1, 2, or 3 in Google search rankings.
Excellent. Fantastic. Sounds like a great strategy. Moving on then to number 5.
Oh, I love this one. So my good friend, Ginger Harrelson and Hunter Harrelson with Beach Ball Properties down in Gulf Shores and Orange Beach, they created What's Happening Orange Beach, What's Happening Gulf Shores Facebook page. What's Happening Orange Beach has over 100,000 members in it. It becomes like the go-to place where everybody that has a house in that market or is looking to buy a house in that market has it. They've got raving fans of beach ball. So anytime someone comes in there and says, hey, I'm looking for a professional manager, they have this army of other homeowners that are highly recommending them, say you got to go with beach ball. And I think Ginger said, from property 1 through property 200 was pretty much from this strategy from this Facebook group. And then they signed it up with Vintory, and they obviously continue to get properties on What's Happening Orange Beach, What's Happening Gulf Shores. It's just a great organic strategy. Does it take time to build out that group? Absolutely. You obviously have to continue to make sure you're putting content on there, but it becomes the de facto place where all the homeowners in that market are looking for properties.
Yeah, I mean, community Facebook groups can be so valuable. Even if you've just got a couple of properties, go into that community Facebook group, just make some comments, just be visible in there. And then if people need a place to stay, then you can become that go-to person. All right, then, Brooke, number 6.
All right. So this is what we call your Super A target. So have a strategy going after those Super A targets. Super A's are going to be the properties. It depends on your market, depends what kind of gross booking revenue you generate. But I like to say anything maybe north of $100,000, $150,000 in gross booking revenue. What you want to do is you want to go out there and segment them. You want to have a list, and you want to be sending them memorable custom gifts. And you can do numerous different things. I've heard people, and don't send them swag. Nobody wants swag with your logo on it. They really don't care about your company, right? They want themselves. So send them a custom luggage tag with their initials on it, right? Personalize it for them and their family. And there's a whole slew of different ideas you can come up with, but probably the best one I've heard of was one where this one property management company, they hired a professional photographer and they hired them to go around and take a picture of all their Super A targets. They then took that photo, they ran it through an Adobe filter called watercolor, and then they printed it on a really nice, beautiful parchment paper, and then they framed it, and they actually mailed out that picture of their house to look like a watercolor painting to that homeowner with a handwritten note on there. It didn't have their logo anywhere on there. It didn't have anything else. It was just a nice gift to them. And this is what's called the rule of reciprocity. Dr. Cialdini talked about this in his book, Influence, The Power of Persuasion. Or The Psychology of Persuasion is a great, great book. And it just talks about where if you give people something, they feel obligated to give you something back in return. And again, you don't need you only need 1 or 2 of these properties per year to actually sign up and kind of take under this. So yes, it's expensive, but this, lifetime value to CAC, your customer acquisition cost, is definitely well worth it. So send really, really highly custom, memorable gifts to those Super A targets.
Yeah, personalized gifts. I absolutely love that tip. I think that is really, really great. And especially that angle of just doing favors for people. Like you say, people will reciprocate when the time is right.
Reciprocity.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Number 7 then, Brooke.
So obviously partnering with realtors, everybody does that. Realtors are probably the number one source, but how can you flip it a little bit upside down? I like to say, give before you get. And in this case, I took this one from the master, Steve Schwab, CEO of Costco. He created something called the Leads for Life program. And what the Leads for Life program is go to a realtor and say, hey, for every property that you happen to give me, I'm going to give you a ton in return. Think of that property that you provide to me that goes into my rental program. Think of that as a lead magnet for you. Every single guest that walks through those doors is going to see your information. Every single guest that gets an email confirmation, that booked it, at the very bottom, it's going to say, hey, if you're interested in purchasing real estate while you're in town, please call Jan at Keller Williams. Or once they go into the property, they're going to have a nice little frame with a QR code. It says, hey, if you're interested in looking at the top rental properties that are currently on the market in your location, scan this QR code. And of course, and then contact Jan at Keller Williams. And then post checkout, when you send out the survey, the NPS survey and things like that, you can do the exact same thing. Hey, did you enjoy your stay in whatever city you're staying in? If you're ever interested in buying real estate and we can show you how we can get the property to pay for itself with rental income, call Jan at Keller Williams. And what will end up happening is you get this flywheel effect. She'll end up signing up more properties because you think about it, you've got dozens and dozens of people now staying in that home, and they're going to see Jan's information. And again, it becomes a marketing machine, each property. So if she gets another property with that company, then you have you get more, dozens and dozens. And it becomes, again, this flywheel effect where you end up getting all these leads right back to Jan, and it becomes a nice reciprocal arrangement.
Fantastic tip. Yeah, the getting people when they're prime on holiday, and how many times have we all been on holiday and you want to buy the place where you're staying? Yeah, it happens all the time.
Well, they can't argue that they don't travel. They can't argue that they don't travel to that area. You know what I mean? It's really, and they obviously are renting. They can afford the high rental and that kind of a property. So you get rid of most of the objections out of the way. So you have a really nice target base if you think about it.
Makes a lot of sense. All right, then, Brooke, number 8.
Yeah, so a lot of people have this, but really just work on it. It's your Google business profile. Go to your Google business profile, make sure it's set up, make sure it's optimized, make sure you have pictures in there, make sure it looks pretty, and then also get reviews. Encourage your owners, encourage your guests to leave those reviews. I feel like every time you get a 5-star review, it's going to help you get more leads in the future. And trust me, Google will, I've seen it firsthand. The more reviews you get on your Google business profile, the higher your organic rankings go on natural like SEO on Google. So again, they work in tandem. The more reviews you get, Google says, hey, this is a trusted company. We need to kind of pull them up a little bit on our organic rankings. And I see it time and time again. I had this one gentleman, he's getting most of his deals he gets is from his Google business profile and Google Maps. And he says for every new 5-star review he gets, he knows he's going to get an extra 5 leads of homeowners.
Yeah, don't underestimate the power of SEO, absolutely, and the power of Google. All right, then, number 9.
Yeah. So after I sold my company Vantage, I worked for the largest property manager in Orlando. And what we would do is we had a whole fleet of really clean, logoed vans and trucks, And what we would do is, if we didn't want them sitting at our office was in a warehouse that nobody would ever see. We wanted those vans and trucks parked in the communities that we were targeting. So what would we do? We would leave those trucks and vans in homes that were unoccupied. And the number one source of leads that we got, you know what it was? I see your trucks and vans everywhere. You guys, and what ends up happening is it's a social proof. These homeowners see your vans and trucks everywhere. They're thinking, man, this company has every single management contract in this community. They must know what they're doing. And social proof is a psychological phenomenon that people trust what other people have to say, right? They trust that if you've validated them and you've signed up with them, they don't necessarily need to do the due diligence like they've done. So get those extra trucks and vans if they're well logoed and well appointed, and park those in unoccupied homes.
I love that a lot of these kind of boil down to psychology and,
Yep.
just seeing the brand, billboarding yourself and making sure that you're visible in the community.
Well, that's exactly what it is, right? It's a bunch of billboards just parked in the community you want to be to. If you were to pay for, a billboard in the middle of the community, first off they would deny you, and secondly, it would cost you thousands of dollars a month per truck per van. So if you can just have those sitting out there, again, it's a mobile billboard.
100%. We are powering through these then. Number 10.
Oh, I love this one. So I did this one with great success, and we created microsites for every community, every building that we wanted to own. So Ocean City, Maryland, where I started Vantage, we had it's a 9-mile sandbar, and there's 20,000 condo buildings or 20,000 condo units. And what we did though is out of the hundreds and hundreds of condo buildings, there was really only 5 or 6 that we really wanted to go after. They were newer communities, high ADR, high weekly rentals, and they were newer, which usually meant they had newer furniture in there. So therefore the rent was usually really good and less complaints from the guests. So what we did is we actually created a microsite for every one of those 5 buildings, those 5 communities that we wanted to go after. In one case, they didn't have a logo, so we actually created the logo for this building. And come even 17 years later, that building is still using the logo that I designed for this website. And it ended up becoming like we were the official management company for these communities. And people would come to us all the time and say, hey, I want to list on sunsetisland.com or belmonttowers.com. They wanted to list on there. We said, we'd love to list your property on there, but the only way you can list on our website is, if you list with our company, Vantage Resort Realty. And we got so many new homeowners by using this micro site kind of strategy. And it's also a great way to get guests. You end up now, you have this great brand, this great SEO. And if people want to rent or looking specifically for that community, you can now rent directly from that as well. A lot of companies in Orlando do this. As soon as they launch up a new community, they buy the domain and they create a little microsite directly for that community.
Very smart. 10 down then, 3
Yep.
to go. Number 11.
All right, let's do this one. So this one's great. I've seen this with great success. My friend Matt Durrett at Cozy Vacation Rentals did this. So the regulations in his market are very complex, very difficult. And what he did, and my other friends, Darby and Taryn over at State Local Nashville did the same thing. So what they did is they really simplified the local regulations, and they almost created like an infographic to make it really simple to understand if your property would qualify. And then they would go to local real estate agents and let them know, give them this infographic, but also send them to a webpage that they created. And this webpage is like the definitive guide of all things short-term rental regulations for the market of Fredericksburg or Nashville, depending on your company. And what ends up happening is this is one of the most searched terms for new homeowners or existing homeowners that are looking to start renting out their home or buy a short-term rental. So if you're coming up on an organic basis, you're providing value, again, going back to that rule of reciprocity, give before you get, they are going to ultimately end up signing up with you in the end. And plus, again, you're going to be top of mind because you've helped them on like the licensing and regulations for that market.
Yeah, definitely one of the themes here, isn't it? Give before you get.
Yep.
It'll come back to you eventually. All right, then, Brooke, number 12.
Yeah, so a lot of our partners do this. They are leveraging tools like AirDNA or Wheelhouse, and what they're doing is they're finding underperforming homes. So they're going through there, they're looking for properties that are maybe the reviews are really poor, or maybe the ADR is low, or maybe the occupancy is very low, and then they're proactively reaching out to them and saying, "Hey, we noticed your property is open for 4th of July weekend, or for or Christmas, or whatever it happens to be. All of our properties are booked, on our management company. I think it'd be a great, would it be okay if I sent you over a rental projection of what similar properties in your area did?" And this has been a great way people do it. But the problem is, it's a lot of brain damage to go out there and find the contact information. You have to go out there. You got to find, because remember, Airbnb masks the address, and, VRBO, about half the time they're masking the addresses. So you got to be able to find that property address. So typically what someone ends up doing is they go on and they look at the map, and then they look at Google Maps and they try to triangulate to figure out what the address is of that property. And maybe they can figure it out. Once they find out the property address, then they go to, and this is in the US, they go to public records and then they look up and they see who the homeowner is, what their property address is, what the mailing address is. Then they go to what's called a skip tracing service, where if you have that information, you can then get like contact information like email and phone. So it takes probably 30 minutes to get one contact. Well, we created at Vintory, we actually created something called Blue Box. Blue Box is a simple little Chrome extension. You go on to Airbnb and Vrbo, and it'll reveal the contact information for any of those homeowners. You can download it within 3 seconds and get their contact information. You can send them an email. You can make a phone call. You can send a direct mail piece to them. Obviously, make sure you're running it against the do not call list. Make sure you're following all applicable laws and things like that. But Blue Box has made that application of going to AirDNA and Wheelhouse and getting underperforming homes and made it really easy to reach out to them.
Very good. Very simple. Once you've got the right tech, of course.
Right.
All right then, Brooke, 13th and final strategy.
All right. So again, I apologize. I got to do it, but it's just a shameless plug. Hire Vintory. You think about it. We've been doing this. I've been helping homeowners or helping professional vacation rental managers for 17 years grow their inventory. That's all we focus on at Vintory is we add more properties. And there's a couple different ways you can do it. You can run personalized email campaigns. Every one of our partners runs email. Cold email works, but it has to be done right. We do this for all of our partners. And then what we found a lot of times, James, is if you do everything right, we generate these leads, but if you don't answer the phone and if you don't have a good salesperson, it's not going to work. So that's why I launched a fractional business development team at Vintory, where we actually will do the sales for you. So we hire what we call the SEAL Team 6 of fractional business development reps. So the best of the best. These are really good salespeople that have the right personality assessment, that have experience closing vacation rental management contracts, where we'll do everything for you. So we can do all the marketing for you at Vintory. And then if you don't have the person to actually close the deal, we can even give you a fractional business development person to close and sign those contracts. They turn them over to you on a silver platter. So apologize in advance for the shameless plug there.
Sounds like a good deal. So tell us, if people want to find out more information about Vintory, where do they go?
Pretty easy. Just go to vintory.com or follow me on LinkedIn. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn.
Excellent. Brooke, it's been a real pleasure. Thank you for sharing those 13 strategies. I'm sure a lot of people will get value out of them. Thanks for joining us on Host Planet Bitesize.
Thanks.
Great to chat to Brooke Pfautz there from Vintory. I especially loved his focus on paying it forward and tapping into the psychology of your target customers. All right, that's it for today's episode. Remember, this series is sponsored by Hostfully, and if you'd like to try their PMS or digital guidebook, head to hostfully.com. For more free education tips and trends from the STR industry, visit houseplanet.club, where you can sign up for our newsletter, listen to our podcasts, and download a suite of ebooks for hosts and property managers. That's it for today's episode. Until next time, happy hosting.